You may or may not remember that about a year ago I made a video on the show Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. I covered the show's history, stated my opinion on it, and looked at some evidence as to what the future of the show could be. However, there was one part of the original script for that video that I completely scrapped, and that part of the video had to do with interpreting the show's meaning. My theory was based on episode 6, when the Demon Sisters are introduced into the show. In that episode, there's a very strong juxtaposition between the loose rules and moral authority of the Angel Sisters and how they run the school versus the strict authoritarian rules of the Demon Sisters. Part of the reason this juxtaposition exists is for irony's sake. Traditional religious thinking would dictate that angels would be morally upright characters while the demons would not be. However, I think the juxtaposition in episode 6 goes deeper than that. I think it's a commentary on a part of Japanese society, the school system. Episode 6 is one of the only episodes that takes place in a school, and the entire episode is filled with examples of how Scanty and Knee Socks set rules that limit the freedoms of the students. My theory was that the rules of Scanty and Knee Socks represented the Japanese school system, and the rule of Panty and Stocking represented American schools. Scanty and Knee Socks require all students to wear uniforms and to comply with various rules of behavior and appearance. This mirrors the reality of the Japanese school system. Now, I'm not super knowledgeable about the Japanese school system, but I do know that schools in Japan are a lot stricter with the rules than in America. Most do require you to wear school uniforms. Before making this video, I tried looking for a specific list of Japanese school rules and found a blog post by a high school student in Japan where he listed the rules of his school, which included wearing a uniform every day, not changing your natural appearance with hair dye or makeup, not wearing jewelry, not wearing bright colored jackets over the uniforms, and you have to comply with these rules when wearing the uniform even if you're not wearing it at school. The rules even extend to what students can do in their personal lives. Outside of school, students cannot work a part-time job without school approval, go to an arcade or karaoke without their parents, stay out past a set curfew, and even with parents' permission, they can't stay over at a friend's house. The disclaimer that I do want to make here is that the blog post goes on to say that his high school in particular is a specialty school, meaning that it is stricter than other schools. However, for this school to even exist is still a testament to the difference between the American and Japanese school systems. I'm pretty sure if we had a school that strict in America, parents would riot in the streets. This gives credence to my theory that the authoritarianism of the Demon Sisters in Panty and Stocking was representative of Japanese schools, as their methods of governing the school are just an exaggerated, comedic version of real Japanese school rules. This is juxtaposed with the very laissez-faire methods of Panty and Stocking, which are very reminiscent of American school. However, I took this theory out of the video because I couldn't find any solid evidence that the director of the show intended for the episode to mean anything. And ultimately, I felt like I was reading too much into a dumb comedy show full of sex jokes and potty humor. Then I was rewatching Kill la Kill, another show by the Panty and Stocking director whose name I can't pronounce correctly, and I realized it has the exact same imagery. The School of Honnouji Academy in Kill la Kill is presented as authoritarian, but in reality it's just an exaggerated version of a school system that already exists in Japan. Just like in real Japanese schools, students have to wear uniforms crafted after military outfits, something acknowledged in the show by the character of Satsuki.
I've always marveled at how our schools make students wear military-inspired uniforms.
Sure, plenty of other anime feature a Japanese high school, but Kill la Kill seemed to be directly calling out the Japanese schools and painting them in a negative light. And that's when everything clicked for me. I wasn't wrong with my Panty and Stocking theory. It's no coincidence that this theme pops up in both Kill la Kill and Panty and Stocking, because those aren't the only shows the director has made with anti-authoritarian messages. While it does not feature a school of any kind, Imaishi's show Gurren Lagann also has themes of anti-authoritarianism. And that show, the protagonists also take on a dictator-like figure. With that in mind, it's clear that this theme is an intentional through line in all of his work. Imaishi hates authoritarianism. He hates being controlled and told what to do, what to say, and what to wear. It's also apparent in his directing style, as his shows tend to stand out creatively from any other anime. He's never made a generic moe slice of life show, and he is never going to make a generic anime set in high school, because he hates high school. To him, a Japanese high school is authoritarian. It's clear from his depictions of school and his animation that he sees it as limiting his personal and creative freedoms. The art of Imaishi and what makes his work so unique is that its very style is a stand against conformity. It's a creative, artful rebellion against the authoritarian structures of society and the pressure to follow the trends of Japan. All of his shows have ended with an authoritarian ruler being brought down by the protagonists, who are often rebellious figures. In many ways, his animation itself is a rebellion, from criticizing Japanese culture to just flat out refusing to make a conventional Japanese animated show. A lot of people tend to dismiss looking deeper into Imaishi's work because his shows are purely made for entertainment. However, film history has proven that pure entertainment can still have relevant social commentary. Silent film star Charlie Chaplin criticized Adolf Hitler and American capitalism in his comedy films, and no one would deny those messages just because the films are meant purely for entertainment. No matter what you make, you can always have an intent and message with your art. And for Imaishi, it's clear that what drives his art is a passion for freedom against the authoritarianism and restrictive aspects of Japanese society. In hindsight, I'm still glad I didn't put my theory into the video, because if I had, I wouldn't have been able to make this video about how that theme of anti-authoritarianism applies to all of his work. Imaishi is one of my favorite animation directors. I cannot wait for his next movie. But realizing his intent has made me appreciate his art and animation even more. Next time I watch one of his shows in awe at the utter insanity of the animation, it'll be a different experience because I'll know the driving passion behind the creativity that fuels what I'm seeing on screen. I'm Randall the Vandal, and thank you for watching.